Hello, it's Ruth Apollonia. Welcome to Apollonia's Adventures. I am standing out here, the Shrine of Our Lady of Good Help in Champion, Wisconsin. So welcome to this video. I'm going to show you around, show you all the buildings, and tell you a little bit about her story, Adele's story. And so just stick around if you want to hear it. So my brother, my uncle, and I visited the National Shrine of Our Lady of Good Hope in March of 2023. Now the first thing I have to say is since then they've actually changed the name. It is now the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. So the sign that I'm showing here is probably not there right now. They probably changed the sign. Just as Champion was sparsely populated in Adele's time back in 1859 when she had the apparition, it is still sparsely populated today. So if you look around the shrine, there's really not that much going on, especially in March, except for a lot of snow. So Adele Bryce moved to the Wisconsin area with her family from Belgium. And to make a long story short, in 1859 she was walking to Mass, and she saw about three apparitions, and she asked the priest what she should do because Mary hadn't spoken to her. And so he said, if you see her again, ask, in the name of God, what do you want? So she did that on her way back to from Mass. She saw Our Lady again, and so she asked her what she wanted, and Mary said, "I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners, and I wish you to do the same. You received Holy Communion this morning, and that is well, but you must do more. Make a general confession and offer communion for the conversion of sinners. If they do not convert and do penance, my son will be obliged to punish them." There were a couple of friends were with Adele, and they didn't see her. And to that, but they got on their knees just like Adele did. And so Our Lady said, "Blessed are they that believe without seeing." And then she said to Adele, "What are you doing here in idleness while your companions are working in the vineyard of my son?" So this refers to when Adele was over in Belgium. There was a group of friends there, and they all were like, "Okay, we're going to become sisters, and we're going to teach and work for God, basically." And because her family moved to Wisconsin, she had to move away from them, and so she wasn't able to become a sister after she made this promise. So here Mary was keeping her to her word. She also said, "Gather the children in this wild country and teach them what they should know for salvation. Teach them their catechism, how to sign themselves with the sign of the cross, and how to approach the sacraments. That is what I wish you to do. Go and fear nothing. I will help you." So what Adele would do is that she would just start walking, and she would walk to different homes, and she would offer to do chores for the mother, as long as she could then teach the kids their catechism when she was finished with the chores. So that's kind of how she first got started and got into the homes, and how the reason they let her into the homes to teach the kids is because she helped them with the chores beforehand. So Adele's father built a chapel where Adele saw the apparition. And so Adele went and she started teaching children, and then eventually she got some other ladies that were assisting her got together and they built a convent and a school in 1861. So then the other big miracle that took place was the fire. So in 1871, the Peshtigo fire. So this is kind of it's not the same fire as the one that burned down Chicago, but it was at the same time because it was so dry and there were fires everywhere. So the Peshtigo fire was making its way in the area, and all the farmers, all the people in the surrounding area didn't know what to do, so they ran to the church and where her convent was and the school was, and they brought their animals, and so they took a statue, and Adele and the nuns and all the people would go around the perimeter of their land and sing praises to Mary and to Jesus. And when the smoke would get too strong, they would just turn the other direction and keep going just the other direction to get out of the way of the smoke. And they kept that up all night. And then eventually it started to rain and put out the fire. And then what they realized was everything around the church property was burnt, but nothing on the church property was burnt. It was still green. And so you can see that depicted in this map here. And so even the fence posts, like on the outside, they were charred, but on the inside, they were fine. So the property was literally spared from this fire. So in 2009, the Bishop of Green Bay, Bishop Ricken, opened up an investigation into the apparition to see, whether it was worthy of belief. And in 2010, he did declare that the apparitions were worthy of belief. And so that is when that apparition became the first approved Marian apparition in the United States in 2010. When you get to the property, you'll see that there are several buildings. One of them, of course, is the church, and then there's also the apparition chapel that is underneath the church. And then next to that, there is what used to be the school, and that's now a gift shop and a little cafe. And then they have like the building that used to be the convent, and they have a welcome center, and then they have an event center as well. Next to the church, if you're looking at the church, it's to the right, there's a cemetery, and that's where Adele is buried. And they also have something back behind the church. I think it's either the Stations of the Cross or it's like a rosary walk. We didn't do that since it was March in Wisconsin. It was like 20 degrees. It was kind of spit and snow. So we didn't get to go back and do that and check that out. But there is something else that's back behind the church. I am pleased to report that during Mass they have people use the communion rail. So I was very excited about that. And you can actually visit the apparition chapel. It's underneath the church, and you go this direction to find it. They discovered that this was actually the place of the apparition where Adele saw Mary. So Adele and some of the other sisters are buried right there on the property. It's right next to the church.
Yeah, that's the church. Yeah, you'll be able to see that. Yeah.
And then we're going to head towards the cross.
There was actually a special presentation of Blessed Carlos Acutis' Eucharistic Miracle posters set up in the event center. I'd seen a few of these, and I know in my local diocese they've had special events with posters and stuff, but at most there was like 6 of them. But no, they had like the whole setup. And it's a massive amount. It's like 160 posters. So I wanted to walk through just to show you what that looks like. Some events take up 2 or 3 posters, so it's not like there's 160 different Eucharistic miracles that he's reporting on. But it's just amazing to see, and just the length of time it took me just to walk through it. And if you take the time to look through all of them, there are so many miracles where the consecrated body and blood turned into visual body and blood, that it almost, when you were looking at the posters, it was almost like, oh no, not another one. Like, can't there be something different? This is getting kind of boring. We need something more interesting. So there were some really interesting ones that I'd never heard of before. There was one with a priest was carrying the Eucharist to give it for anointing of the sick or something like that, and he tripped and it fell out of his hands and fell into the river, and these fish like jumped up, holding them up like out of the river. It's like, okay, that's a new one. If you guys want more information about Our Lady of Champion and Adele and her story, then you can go to their website, which is championshrine.org.